Hey guys, it's a little on the late side on Monday night, and I suspect because of the day I had that I won't be up early to post the video. So I wanted to get it up a little bit on the early side so we could stay on track here. Let's meditate for 3 minutes, and then we can talk about my crazy day. Hey, so technically it's Tuesday according to my clock. It's almost 1 o'clock. But my Monday didn't quite go as I was planning. About halfway through the afternoon, I got a phone call from my father that I ignored initially, but then he called back two more times. So I picked it up, and he was being rushed to the ER for what they thought at the time was a heart attack. So the good news is he's okay. They've got him in the hospital overnight. They're observing him. They've ruled out the scary stuff, heart attack, stroke, and the like. The bad news is, quite frankly, they don't really know what's going on yet, and figuring it out might take a little bit of time. So, since we're talking about meditation in motion, we're talking about what it looks like when we take our practice off the cushion this week. I thought this was a great example to bring to the group. Something really cool has happened for me over the last couple of years. because I've spent hours upon hours developing this calm, centered place that I feel deep down in my body, because when I'm doing my breath awareness, I focus on my breath all the way down in my lower abdomen. When I'm confronted with a moment of very strong emotions, I immediately snap into and bringing my focus away from my head, or when I'm having really strong emotions, that thing that catches you in your chest, and settling into that calm place that provides me a moment of reflection, even in very stressful times. Today, when my father called, the cell phone connection was bad in the hospital. He was clearly distressed, and I didn't have a lot of information about what was happening. I was 3 hours away, and I had to get myself together and go and try to be present for whatever was happening in Connecticut. I immediately stopped when I hung up the phone with him and took 2 or 3 deep centering breaths and just asked myself, what's the plan here? I have to get to Connecticut. That means I have to leave work. I have cats at home, and I probably need something that resembles my clothes and other things. So stopped in my boss's office, ran home, grabbed some clothes, and hit the road. I'm reminded, and I had to go back and listen to it a little bit in my car ride. I had listened to a wonderful audiobook by a guy named Mark Goulston. He's a psychologist, and he wrote a book called Just Listen. And in one of the chapters, he highlights a process he calls from oh crap to okay. And I had been doing this for years, thanks to my meditation practice, but I hadn't heard it articulated so clearly. His 4 steps from oh crap to okay is oh crap, oh geez, oh well, okay. And I really think this relates to my meditation practice, because we start with just that initial awareness, right? Once I give a name to my emotions, once I say like, oh, gosh, I'm panicking. This is very stressful. There's something real happening here. This is serious, right? I'm able to put a label on it. And putting a label on something is very interesting. I think for the same reason we shouldn't label human beings, we should label emotions. Why? Because it restricts it. It says what it is. Right? Human beings are diverse and complex and deserve to be given space to be who they are. Right? But sometimes when we're experiencing an emotion, we should label it, because it takes away a little bit of its power. It separates us from the experience of that emotion and being swept away with it. And it objectifies it a little bit, right? So identifying it gives us an opportunity to go a little bit deeper. We can look at it, right? And once we've removed ourselves from the emotion, we can go to this oh geez phase, right? Like, I've seen this before. I know what this is. This is that moment where I'm thinking of a million probabilities and I don't know anything. So I need to not panic. I need to take a couple of concrete steps and let time determine what's next. This oh well is a little more challenging when it's something as serious as a family member who's experiencing a potential medical crisis, right? For me, where I get most often my sense of panic is at work. If I'm convinced my boss is calling me into her office because I must have done something wrong that I can't even think of, or comparable minor situation, that day to day, like a little panic that we do, right? Usually I'm able to look at it and say, like, what is the worst thing here? Right? The worst thing is at work, they're going to fire me and I have to go out and find another job. I've got a little bit of money in the bank. I have family and friends. I'm not going to be out in the street, right? I can say, oh, well, in this case, because I know the consequences aren't that bad. A little bit more challenging when something serious like this medical crisis, right? Hard to say in the face of a family member being in the hospital, oh well. But if I've meditated enough, if I have this calm place that I can return to, even in the midst of a crisis, I can say, you know what? Even in the worst of storms, I'm going to survive. I will be able to be there for my father. If something terrible happens to him and the worst happens, I'll be able to be there for my siblings as we work through this, right? As undesirable as that outcome is, I will be able to walk through it. I did it when my grandparents died. I did it when my uncle died. I would be able to confront that situation and be supportive of my family and friends and grieve appropriately if it happened in this case. The okay phase, the fourth phase of Dr. Goulston's process here, is practical, right? We looked inwards and we started to find our center, and now we step back out and we engage with the world. I'm okay, right? I can do this. Sometimes I need a little bit of self-positive talk there, and I go about my actions. So this meditation practice, this making it a daily part of our life, is so valuable because we need to rehearse in these small situations of that panicked feeling I have when my boss emails me and I'm convinced she's calling me in because something terrible has happened that I'm responsible for that I can't even imagine. When I go through those little tiny crises, it prepares me for how to bring myself back to center when something really serious happens. So a number of times today, I had to bring myself back to the experience of my breath, to not get caught up in the panic. You know, I'll say just about my personal process, that's a little bit of an add-on to this oh crap to okay model of Dr. Goldstein. My first step in part of what I need in terms of identifying that emotion and giving myself some of that initial clarity, I process externally, right? I am an extrovert at the end of the day. And for me to know myself and know what I'm really working with, I need to talk to somebody. So I'm very lucky, especially because of this meditation community. I've got a long list of phone numbers that I can call, people who know me, who've gone through some of the little things, who, when I get to this big stuff, they also are prepared for the going from oh crap to oh geez to oh well to okay, right? I personally need partners to be able to do that effectively. So I'm exhausted. It was a really long day, emotionally trying day. There's something about hospitals that I'm convinced time goes a little bit slower. I tried really hard when my father was finally moved to an observation room out of the ER to not get angry at the person who was sharing his room, who was blasting his TV at full volume, even though my father was working with doctors that were trying to tell us what was going on. I had to recognize that that was a moment of an opportunity for being compassionate for this other person whose story I didn't know. So yeah, I'm really grateful for this meditation practice. By investing the time in my cushion day in, day out, I prepare myself for these little storms that come along the way. So my recommendation, Tuesday night we've got the book club, meets at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I may or may not be there, but definitely my friends Roxanne and Danielle will be. You don't need to read anything for the book club. We read a couple of paragraphs from a book together, we meditate, and then discuss that. So I hope you'll join us. And otherwise, let me know if you're an experienced meditator. Drop something in some of the comments here or in the discussion group, and talk a little bit about how this practice has helped you during challenging times. I certainly know I was feeling very grateful for my meditation practice through the course of this stressful day. 3 hours in the car when I didn't know what was going on for the majority of the time was a very interesting time to practice with my emotions, to make sure I wasn't speeding too much over the speed limit. Trying to be mindful of what was happening in between my ears and in my heart through that. So, good luck, and we'll talk again tomorrow.